UFC 309 is this weekend, potentially Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic's last fight. And today we're going to talk about the best and worst narratives heading into UFC 309. So stick around to hear my thoughts. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Before we get into the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you want access to extra content such as members live streams and behind the scenes vlogs, click the join button on our channel homepage or in the link down below to become a channel member today. All right, guys, so UFC 309 is this weekend, and we have some fantastic fights on the card, such as Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler in a 5-round co-main event, and the main event, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, which is a controversial booking, is a controversial main event, because there is an interim champ out there that has defended the interim belt while Jon Jones has been absent on the sidelines. Now, here we are, Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Now, there's a few narratives going into this fight card. The biggest is that Jon Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall. Now, do I agree with this? Yes and no. I think that Jon Jones is negotiating. Personally, I think that Jon Jones, if the bag is big enough, will stick around for one more fight against Aspinall. He's made it sound like absolutely no way he's going to stick around for one more fight. He said this multiple times. He said that he wants to beat Stipe, and that's his last one. Retire in his home state of New York, because he's from New York. Retire in his home state of New York at Madison Square Garden after beating the best heavyweight champion of all time. Do I think he's ducking Tom Aspinall? I think maybe. I think there's a chance that he retires after this fight, but I genuinely think that this is a money grab from Jon Jones. Jon Jones basically made the Stipe fight not happen because he couldn't get the contract that he wanted, also while having to bulk up to heavyweight. But now here he is. He called out Stipe. He got that fight. This is old man Stipe, 40-something years old. This is an easy fight for him. But if I'm Jon Jones, I understand why you don't just sacrifice probably an easy win this weekend to fight Tom Aspinall. I understand the process of, I've been preparing for Stipe. Stipe's who I've had on my mind. It's an easier fight. It's a big paycheck, probably a bigger paycheck than Aspinall would be right now because of how badly Dana wants this fight to happen. It's a smart play by Jon Jones to fight Ciryl Gane and Stipe and then decide if he wants to fight the toughest heavyweight in the world, which is Tom Aspinall. The reason I say yes, he's ducking Tom Aspinall is because he won't publicly say that he's going to fight him. He's ducked every possibility to say that he's going to fight Tom Aspinall or to say that he's going to stick around after the Stipe fight. And this is because Jon Jones wants to give himself an opportunity to duck Tom Aspinall. But he's also leaving himself the opportunity to negotiate a lot more money for the fight, because if he doesn't want it, but the fans are all calling for it, you know the UFC is going to come right with a big check for Jon. The reason that I would say no, he's not ducking, is because of the contract stuff that I just mentioned. That's the reason that I would say yes and no to this narrative. Jon's a complicated guy. I don't know what he's thinking here. I wouldn't be surprised either way. If it was right off into the sunset with a win over Stipe, call yourself the best of all time, or if this is simply to negotiate more money for a Tom Aspinall fight. So Jon's a complicated guy. It's probably a complicated answer that he fully doesn't know yet. This is a tough one because I usually am just yes or no, do I agree with this narrative? But in this case, it's yes and no. Moving on from there, the next narrative that I want to talk about is the narrative that Michael Chandler is washed. He waited 2 years, almost to the day, for a Conor McGregor fight that did not materialize. Now he's fighting someone that's been active in Charles Oliveira, someone who's just flat out a way harder fight than Conor McGregor at this point in their careers. And Michael Chandler has been out for a very long time, and at 38 years old, and in a lighter weight class. The chips are stacked against Michael Chandler here. Do I think he's washed? We're going to have to see. When you take all of the factors into consideration, like his inactivity, Charles's activity, who he was preparing for versus who he's fighting now, like preparing for Conor McGregor and then getting Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is a much more multifaceted, well-rounded fighter than Conor McGregor is, especially at this point in their career. And Chandler was getting ready for 170 for 2 years, and now he has to get back down to 155 this next week. I'm sure he's going to make weight, but I'm sure it's not going to be easy when he was expecting 170. And I'm sure there's some mind games there as well. Do I think Michael Chandler's washed? No. I don't think he is, but I think that all of the factors I mentioned are going to make Charles Oliveira look way better than Michael Chandler in this fight, and people are going to say Chandler is washed. I'm probably going to pick Oliveira in that fight. I think the narrative, at least, after Chandler, in my opinion, loses to Oliveira is that he pissed away the end of his career waiting for Conor. He's rusty, ring rust, all that stuff, and now he's coming off of another loss, and the belt is out of reach. He's less valuable. He might not get the Conor fight at this point. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe Oliveira gets the Conor fight at this point, because there's been two possibilities for Oliveira. He talked about the BMF against Holloway, and he's talked about Conor. Actually, there's three, because he could fight Islam as well. There's big fights for whoever wins this fight, but I think it's going to be Charles Oliveira. I'll make a separate video on that. But do I think Michael Chandler is washed? No, but it's going to look like it on Saturday, is my opinion. Moving on from there, the next narrative heading into UFC 309 that I've been seeing is that Bo Nickal is overrated. He's fought 3 bums in the UFC, one of them being Cody Brundage, who I don't want to say a bum, because Cody Brundage is tough in some ways, but he's just not an elite level talent. And he hung in there, even though he did get finished in the second round by Bo Nickal. He did hang in there much better than everyone was ready for, and much more than anyone was anticipating. I think a lot of people were expecting a first-round sub from Bo Nickal. Do I think Bo Nickal is overrated? We're going to find out this weekend. Same thing as the last narrative, but personally, no. I think Bo Nickal's legit. I think he's got ice running through his veins. He fought on the UFC 300 main card in his 6th pro fight, and he's wrestled in front of tens of thousands of people when he was at Penn State. He's got ice running through his veins. You know, he's a smart guy, family guy, doesn't seem like he parties. This is the type of guy that the UFC is going to push to win, like hardworking blue collar middle America, because I've said it so many times. He has a very profitable fan base, the wrestling fan base and blue collar middle America. They love this guy, and it's smart. They push him for that type of audience, and they push O'Malley for the California and Florida, like Miami and LA type of audiences, you know? Short answer is no. I think Bo Nickal is super legit. I think he's a future champ, and I don't think that he's overrated. And I think that Bo Nickal versus Khamzat is possibly one of the biggest fights in UFC history in like 2 years. I think Khamzat becomes champ, and then Bo Nickal works his way up 2 or 3 fights from now. Bo Nickal has talked about fighting Khamzat in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, which would be insane. But I think that's a big fight in like 2 years' time. There are my thoughts on the best and worst narratives heading into UFC 309. There's not a whole lot of high-profile fights on this card, so there's not a whole lot to say. Usually I have more narratives for you to break down. But that's what I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. It really helps us out a lot. If you want access to extra content and you want to support the channel further, please make sure to become a channel member by clicking the link down below or clicking the join button on our channel homepage. If you want more content from me, go check out my non-MMA podcast, What's Up Bro with Wyatt and Bo, in the link down below. Go watch this suggested video, and I'll see you next time.